Properly setting up and looking at the right Google Ads metrics can be the reason why you end up being profitable with Google Ads versus actually ending up losing a lot of money for your e-commerce brand. And in this video, I'm gonna cover the exact Google Ads metrics I look at, not only to determine how my ads are currently performing, but also to determine what my next steps would be in order to make my ads perform better and as a result, get more return on ad spend in the long run. But before we actually get into determining exactly what the right metrics are, how to look at them, etc., it's important to know exactly why metrics are even important to look at in the first place. Now, I already covered this in the beginning of this video, but like I mentioned, metrics are your foundation of your Google Ads account. They tell you how your ads are performing, if they're spending any budget or not, if your bids are at the right level or not, and a wide range of different factors which basically determine the quality of your ad account and ultimately the quality of your Google Ads campaign. Whether it's a search campaign or a shopping campaign, it's basically irrelevant. But I definitely get it. There's so many different metrics that you can potentially look at with Google Ads that for anybody that's not really too familiar with how ads work, or you have just been having some other people like a freelancer or a Google Ads agency handle them for you, it becomes that much more important to set up the right columns and to look at the right metrics so that you know what you're spending is actually getting you anything in return or not. But of course, like I mentioned, looking at the right metrics like I do, and the exact metrics I even began with in terms of analyzing my data, starts off by setting up the right column. So right now here on my screen, as you see, it's a full-on new Google Ads account. And when I say new, I mean this is a Google Ads account I just took on today for my Google Ads agency, Euro Marketing. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start off by setting up the right columns for this ad account so that I can actually start understanding the data, start looking at the right metrics to see where this account is at the current level. So first things first, let's go ahead and go on over to the column setup. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually get rid of all of these columns on the right side so that I can show you guys right from the beginning where you need to start off with. So the main column you should have at the very top is the campaign type column. And now we're gonna start setting up the right column. So first things first, we're gonna work our way from top to bottom. Let's go on over to performance, and let's start off by looking at some of the most important metrics which we need to have. Of course, cost is the number one metric you should always have, so cost is number one. Next thing I like to look at is impressions, because I like to look at it sort of like a funnel. So impressions followed by the number of clicks, followed by the CTR, which is then followed by the average cost per link click, because again, without the average cost per link click, you will not be able to understand much information. And once you're done with average CPC, you are actually finished with this column for now right over here, because we immediately jump down to the conversions column, because at the end of the day, the main metrics I really look at are some of those in the conversions, and I'll be going over those very shortly once we're done setting up all of the correct columns. So next column we set up is conversions, but now here's a little bit of a twist. We're gonna set up another conversion column right over here, but this is gonna be a little bit different. This is gonna be called the conversions by conversion time column, and there's a huge difference between this normal conversions column and a conversions by conversion time column, and we're gonna be getting to this difference very shortly once we're done setting up all of the columns. Next column is going to be the cost over conversion, and this is followed by the conversion value over cost. But now we're not done yet, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually come down here to the custom column section, and we're going to click plus to add a brand new custom column. Here we're gonna name this the ROAS, and we're gonna name this the by conversion time column. So this is very important to do, because as you saw earlier, I added another conversion column called conversions in parentheses by conversion time column, and we're gonna do the same thing here. So in order to calculate ROAS, the formula that we know for this is conversion value over cost. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna type in conversion value, and then once we're done with that, we're gonna scroll all the way down until we see this one right here. So conversion value by conversion time, and we're gonna go ahead and choose that, because now what we're gonna do is we're gonna hit this divide symbol right over here, and we're gonna divide that by the cost. So conversion value over cost is our ROAS column, but again, this is the special by conversion time column. And don't worry, I'm gonna be going over exactly what that means shortly. But once you have selected the cost column and made sure that the formula reads conversion value by conversion time divided by cost, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna go ahead and hit save, because now we wanna add this to the right side right over here. So it should definitely be added on the right side by this time. And if anything looks a little bit off, just go ahead and fix it up a bit. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna remove these columns one more time because they're here and we don't want them here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna change this and we're gonna make sure that this is correct. So conversion value, and then ROAS by conversion time. So the next column we need to add is a conversion value over cost column. So right over here, if we look at this one, it should be right over here, right above the ROAS column, which we just created. So make sure it reads in this order right over here. And conversion value, so I'm just gonna fix these columns up a bit right here. So cost over conversion should be right there. And now this is in perfect order. So cost, clicks, impressions, and actually impressions above clicks. So cost, impressions, clicks, CTR, conversions, conversions by conversion time, cost over conversion, conversion value, and then the conversion time, and then these two at the very end, because now our next column that we're going to add is actually the conversion rate column. It should be at the very end, and that basically completes all of the conversion related columns we need to be looking at, because these are some of the main ones I do look at when determining what to do with my ads. Now we're going to move on to the competitive metrics section, because here are some more important metrics which tell us how our ads are performing in the market as a whole, which we need to add. So first one, search impression share. This is followed by search lost IS rank, search lost IS budget right over here. And the next one is called the click share. So right there, you want to go ahead and click on click share, and that should do it for the competitive metrics section. Now we're going to move on up to the performance section one more time, and we're going to add invalid clicks. These are very important because they tell you how many bots, how many competitors are clicking on your ad. So invalid clicks followed by invalid click rates. And that pretty much concludes all of the specific metrics which you need to be looking at in order to properly optimize your ads, in order to know exactly what the next ideal step is. So you can look through these other columns as you like, but that is pretty much it for the columns that we need to have. So once you do that, just give it a name and you can call this whatever you like, and we're gonna hit save and apply. Once you do that, now here is where you really get to see all of the data in action. Now, don't be intimidated by all of these columns we just added, because we are technically not going to be using all of the columns here to determine what the ads are and how they're performing. These are not the main columns that I really look at, because these do give me a general idea of how everything is going. But even from all of these columns, I do pinpoint just a few different columns that I really use to then determine my next move. So before we do that, let's look at the conversion value by conversion time columns, as well as the by conversion time columns. These are very important, and as you can see right off the bat, they have a little bit of different information. So the first column right here, conversions, is 14. This one right here, 15 sale. Looking at conversion value right here, $1,089. This one, $1,147. And if we hover over this, we can see exactly the difference between the two. So let's start off with the normal conversions column. Conversions right here, as it says, just shows the number of conversions you received after ad interaction. So basically normal ad interaction that happened during a certain time period. Whereas with the by conversion time columns, it says that conversions here are shown based on the day a conversion occurred. And this is the more realistic column, which tells you right now exactly what the number of conversions are, because it is bypassing the attribution period at which your ads go through. And there is a small attribution period. It could be 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, where this time period is what Google takes to actually allocate all of the sales that it's getting to the appropriate campaign. So as you can see right here within this conversion column, this is not necessarily bypassing that period. It's just saying how many conversions it got in the last X amount of days, where this is telling you exactly how many conversions it got, including today and all of the other days where you actually ended up getting those sales. So as you can see, it says this conversions column, meaning the main conversions column right over here, is basically fully based on the time the click occurred, whereas this column is based on the time the sale occurred. So there's a huge difference in this, even though the wording might be a little bit confusing for you. Just know that this is a bit more accurate than this column, and hence why I like to add both of these, because it lets me know exactly where my campaigns are standing, and I like to kind of take the average of these two. So it says $1,089 in sales this month for the conversion value column, the basic one, and this one $1,147. So right now I can be pretty sure that my conversion value in reality is around $1,100. So that kind of gives me an idea of how my ads are performing. And same thing with the ROAS right here, the normal conversion value over cost column, meaning the ROAS here is based off of this normal conversion window, whereas this ROAS by conversion time is based off of this one right over here, hence why we have a higher ROAS. So now that we got that out of the way, let's start by looking at the exact main metrics I use to determine how my ads are performing and what I can be doing to further move my ad performance forward. So first things first, the main metric I like to start off by looking at is of course the cost metric. Without this, I don't really know how much my ads are spending, so obviously that's the main metric. Next metric I like to really look at is the impressions metric, believe it or not, and that's simply because this tells me how many impressions I'm getting in a certain amount of time period, whether my ads are performing at an optimal level or not. Because for example, if I had only gotten 40 impressions here, I would clearly know right away that there is a problem with the ad itself and there is just not enough people that are getting shown my ad. And there could be a variety of different reasons why my impressions are low. Number one could be my bid is way too low. So here, if the impressions were low, I would go in and I would increase the bid. But number two, that would simply mean that I'm not getting enough impressions because my budget is too low. And because of that, I would then go in and increase the budget. So impressions tell you either the bid is at fault or the budget is at fault. And here clearly the budget is not at fault because we're running at $150 a day. So obviously if the impressions were low here, that would mean the bid was the issue and I would go in and either fix up the bid. If it's a smart shopping campaign, I would maybe shut off target ROAS percentage. So just let it run without any target ROAS percentage chosen exclusively. But this is the main column I really begin my research off. And this brings me to the next column that I really look at, which is CTR. I do not look at clicks because here at a campaign level, it is pretty much irrelevant. So looking at the CTR, I do of course want to make sure my entire campaign is running at a CTR of 1% or as close to 1% as possible, because again, one of the main contributing factors to your quality score is the CTR or the expected CTR. And clearly if my CTR is not anywhere close to 1%, my expected future CTR will not be close to 1% either. So at a broad level, that is at the campaign level, we are seeing that the CTR is not too high. This means the products within this campaign do definitely need to work. But moving on now to the next most important metric I look at, it's not really conversions, because sure, conversions do tell me how many sales I'm getting, but it's actually the ROAS column itself. So conversion value over cost column. This is the main metric I look at, and I'm trying to see what the metrics are overall, how the campaign is performing, and what my target ROAS is and my break-even ROAS is at the campaign level. In this case, for this ad account, this campaign should be running at a ROAS of about 2x and above to be break even and profitable, and clearly within this month it's running at a 0.95 based on just the normal conversion value over cost column, and based on the conversion time column, a 1x ROAS. Regardless of which column we look at, it's not impressive at all, and obviously that's one reason why this e-commerce store owner decided to bring us on to handle their Google Ads account for them. But in the last 30 days, we can see the ROAS has been a 1.63, nowhere close to break even. So that's the main metric I'm really looking at to understand how the campaign is performing. If it's performing great, then I wouldn't really do too much investigation, but if it's not performing great, then we move on and do a little bit of extensive investigation to figure out why it's not performing great. So the next column I would like to really look at is I like to look at the cost over conversion column. So now here we're seeing that the cost over conversion is about $50 per sale, and if the average order value is not really that high, and by the way, that's another column we will be adding very shortly, but that would just mean that this is too high for us and we want to get it as low as possible. Clearly the ROAS is not where we want it to be, which means this is too high right off the bat. So this is the next column I'm really looking at to understand how the campaign is performing at a very, very broad level. Now let's move on and actually add one more column, which I didn't add right at the beginning. It is the AOV column. So what we're going to do is we're going to add another custom column. We're going to call it AOV. And here is where we're going to add the AOV. And we're going to divide conversion value by conversion time by the number of conversions that happen. And of course, you want to make sure that you're choosing conversions by conversion time. Again, super important, and make sure you're choosing the right one. So conversions by conversion time. Go ahead and click save. Once you do that, go ahead and click save and apply, and you can just go ahead and click replace. But now it should tell you what the AOV is, and as you can see right here, the AOV here is about $80. So we're getting a cost per conversion of $50 while our AOV is $80. And this column is the next most important column I'm looking at because it tells me exactly how we're doing in terms of the overall average order value and what needs improvement. So this month so far the AOV has decreased, hence why our ROAS has also decreased. So in terms of doing things in the back end, this column is great to tell you what you need to be working on, and this store definitely needs work on the AOV so that we can then work on improving the overall ROAS. But that's basically what I'm looking at in order to determine what needs to be done in terms of the conversions columns. Now, moving on to the other important metrics, the next most important metric I'm looking at is search impression share. Search impression share is a very important metric I look at because it basically tells me how much of the search impressions I'm getting based out of what is available in the market. For example, if there's 100 people searching for the product 3D printer in Google search platform, my search impression share, if it was 30%, would mean 30 people out of those 100 people actually got to see my shopping ad or my search ad. So my search impression share, meaning how many eyeballs I got out of those 100 eyeballs, is 30. And that is exactly what we're seeing right here. So out of 100 people, about 33 people on average are seeing our ads for the products that are running within this campaign. And this tells me a lot of important information because it basically tells me what my bid is and if my bid is too low or if it's too high. So if it's too low, my search impression share will also be low. If it's too high, my search impression share will also be too high. And one important thing you want to understand is while it's important to have a high search impression share, it should not be at the cost of your return on investment, meaning your ROAS. So if you start to notice that your search impression share as you're increasing bids goes up and up to 50, 60, 70%, but then after 70%, your ROAS starts to drop significantly, it's better to drop the search impression share by dropping bids or by just eliminating the target ROAS if it's a smart shopping campaign, because you would rather be at a 50% search impression share but have a ROAS that's at 3x, 4x, 5x and above. So that's where search impression share really determines what I do with my ads. But that brings me to search last IS rank. Very important because this is telling me what my search last impression share rank is. And this is basically telling me how much percentage wise I lost in terms of search impression share due to a low quality ad rank. And as you know, ad rank is determined by the quality score, which is determined by the expected CTR, plus the landing page experience, plus your bids. So here, as you can see, it does tell me that 66% of my search impression share is actually lost due to the ad rank itself and not due to the next column, which is search last impression share due to the budget. And this column is very self-explanatory. It just tells you how much of your search impression share you're losing due to a low budget. As you can see here, it says 0%. That means my budget right now for this campaign, it's very competitive. All I need to really work on is my ad rank, because that's basically the bulk of why I'm losing my search impression share. And again, ad rank can be improved by improving my overall CTR. It could be improved by my bidding and the way I'm bidding. It could also be improved by my landing page experience. So having more people go on my landing page will also stay on my landing page for a long period of time. So that's how search last IS rank and how search last impression share due to budget kind of tells me how I'm doing with my ads. And this brings me to the next column, which is the click share. Now, click share on a broad level doesn't really matter too much, especially if you're not running search campaigns. Mostly with shopping campaigns, it doesn't really matter. If it's a search campaign, it will definitely matter because it tells you how much out of the all total clicks available in the market you're getting. So if it says less than 10% here, and by the way, this is not accurate data because this is a smart shopping campaign. So you don't really pay attention to this with a smart shopping campaign or any shopping campaign for that matter. But that would simply mean that I'm getting maybe 5 clicks out of the 100 clicks available in the market. Again, not too accurate in terms of the shopping campaigns, but invalid clicks definitely accurate. It's just telling you how many people, and this could be bots, competitors, basically spammers trying to rise your overall ad cost that you're having to deal with that given campaign. Here we can see 261 invalid clicks just this month alone, and that's out of the total clicks about 10%. Now here, there's a lot of tools available out there. In fact, I'm partnering up with one in which you can kind of keep up to date about how that goes, because I will only be talking about that more on my Google Ads agency website under my blog if that goes well. But again, in terms of my Google Ads agency, if you're doing $30,000 or more in sales and you need some help scaling your e-commerce brand further, go onto my website at euromarketing.com and book a free call with me to see how we can possibly work together and scale your brand to the next level. But that basically concludes the main metrics I really use to not only see how my ads are performing, but to determine my next steps that I want to take with my campaigns. Now, just to kind of recap, the main metrics I'm really paying attention to would be, of course, cost followed by impressions, then CTR. Conversions are important, but they're not really the main metrics, because at the end of the day, the ROAS, meaning the conversion value over cost column, should tell you how your ads are performing. So that's the next column I'm really looking at, followed by cost over conversion. And then the AOV, and of course, conversion rate is important too. But again, that column is more about how to improve in the back end. So these are the main columns in terms of the ads and how they're performing really that I'm looking at. Now, the secondary columns, which I'm looking at to further determine how to scale my ads, how to stop losing money, etc., include search impression share, the search last IS rank, search last IS budget, and click share, not really too much unless it's a search campaign, but invalid clicks and invalid click rate. So these are the main columns I'm really looking at, not only for my own e-commerce brands, but also for my clients under my agency, Euro Marketing. But again, go on my website at euromarketing.com to book that free call if you're at the stage where you do need a little bit of extra help to scale your brand further. But if you found any type of value in this video, destroy that like button and destroy that subscribe button, and I will see you in my next video.